According to the ALS Association on October 16, 2012, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis is a progressive neurodegenerative disease that affects nerve cells in the brain and spinal cord. Just like many of you now, that had no significance in my life. This did not affect me until 2008, the year my father was diagnosed with this disease. Being the daughter of someone who has ALS, I feel that I have a personal connection with the disease that makes me a valuable source to you. I have also done extensive research on this topic in hopes of sharing my knowledge with you. Today there are three main topics I would like to discuss. First, the characteristics of ALS. Second, the effects it has on ALS patients and their families. And third, how you can become educated and involved. First, let's take a look at what causes ALS. This is a short and simple answer because there is none. Despite scientists' efforts, there is no clear explanation as to why nerve cells in the body begin to die. Along with being a progressive and sporadic disease, ALS is also incurable and fatal. Most patients first recognize their inability to complete tasks that require fine motor skills, such as snapping buttons on your shirt or using a zipper. ALS often leads to death within 2 to 7 years of diagnosis, according to the ALS organization on October 17, 2012. Now that we have taken a medical and objective view to the disease, let's look at how ALS affects your everyday life. ALS patients quickly realize that their lives and the lives of their loved ones are going to change dramatically. ALS lowers a person's ability to live alone and complete simple tasks dramatically. Before ALS, my father was a capable and able man. Today, he lives in a nursing home where he requires around-the-clock care with a team of specialized nurses. Because the disease has affected his medical and his respiratory system, he requires a ventilator to help him breathe. He is also using a feeding tube, which is a small tube inserted into his stomach that provides nourishment to his body. Because his muscles are no longer strong enough to support him, he is bedridden. Nurses turn him throughout the day in hopes of preventing bruising and bed sores. He uses a computer-assisted device that recognizes the blinks and eye movements so that he may communicate with loved ones. Although thankfully ALS does not affect a person's ability to think or any of their thought processes. However, because he cannot communicate through facial expressions, movements, and speech, he often feels trapped. As you might have guessed, many ALS patients and their families experience depression. While these are the sad realities of this disease, they are the truth and are something that ALS patients have to live with every day. My third and final point is that because ALS affects 20,000 Americans, with a growing number of cases each year, individuals should become educated and involved. You can do this by visiting ALS.org. The site provides information on the disease, topics such as its early symptoms, and how you can get tested. The site also provides psychological aid to those that are affected with the disease, so that their families and friends may hear stories from previous people diagnosed with it. In review today, we have discussed the characteristics of ALS, its effects it has on its patients and loved ones, and how you can become educated and involved. I have only one more point to present to you today. Within the past 5 minutes of this speech, how many of you have made a facial expression? Thought of something you would say to a friend after the speech was over? Or thought about something that you might eat later? I am confident that each of you has done at least one of these things. While these are simple tasks that we often take for granted, ALS patients are being stripped of their ability to do this. I challenge you to not take a single day for granted, to live life to the fullest, and remember that each day is a gift from God. Pam.